In the vast majority of Western democracies, schools are back in session, except for in Ontario. We haven't had schools in Ontario for ages. And the Premier declared this week that they aren't coming back until at least after the summer vacation. Some experts have said, boy, even if they came back for 2 or 3 weeks, it would be greatly beneficial. The Premier said no. Roman Badber is a former Conservative MPP. He's still a sitting MPP of the Ontario Legislature. He joins me right now because I suspect, and I've been reading about what you've been saying, that you disagree with this decision.
Absolutely. And in fact, every single expert out there disagrees with Premier Ford. After having received advice from the Chief Medical Officer of Health to open the schools, the Premier sought political cover, wrote to 54 stakeholders as to whether he should open the schools, and all of them came back and said yes, at least some regionally. And nonetheless, he decided to keep the schools closed.
What's going on with the Premier? Like, why would he do that?
Well, there was a suggestion, I think there was an article in CTV, that he got some polling that suggested to him that perhaps it's not a good idea to open the schools, and I in fact suspect that that's what happened.
Yeah, but you'd think, I don't know what polling that was, we didn't see it, but I mean, you'd think, I know a lot of parents, and they want their kids back in school.
This is probably the greatest issue within the pandemic. It's not just children's and children's mental health, but schools. Kids are regressing. Kids need to be back in school. And it's very upsetting that the argument on the basis of which the Premier predicated the closure was not fairly negotiated with the public or presented to the public. Specifically, he suggested that they're expecting a rise of 6 to 11% in cases. They did not divulge the nature of the model. And even if it was 6 to 11% of 700 cases, that's about 80 cases. Multiply that by hospitalization of children, you get a minuscule amount. Schools should have been opened.
Absolutely, and there are very, very, very few students who have a very tough case or a severe case of COVID anywhere around the world. So, I mean, it just seems that he is being so shy about getting things back. He doesn't want to take any risk whatsoever. And now the fact that he's the Emperor of Ontario, he doesn't have to answer to anybody.
One of the best stories about COVID is that children are rarely, if ever, affected by COVID.
Right.
And we need to embrace that reality. In fact, we should embrace all good COVID news.
Yes.
Something that we've been hesitant to do. But what upsets me is that he went out without thinking it through and suggested that all grades should have graduation without advising the principals or the boards that that's what he's planning on. And then he came back today and he said, no, we can't do a graduation within a couple of weeks, especially for all grades. And so I guess Arthur will not get his graduation.
Well, and what do you graduate from anyway? Just watching TV for a little while in some rather pathetic classes, from what I understand. A lot of teachers are trying hard, but it's simply not working. In any event, it's a mess. But Roman, thank you for speaking out on it. Pleasure as always. 3 minutes. Our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, recently stood up in the House of Commons and prefaced his remarks by saying, and we will only work from the facts, quote, unquote, and then proceeded to lie by saying Britain was in a horrible, horrible third wave, trying to show, in fact, that Canada was not the worst in the world. Britain, though, had vaccines. Canada did not. And this was not reported in the mainstream Canadian media, the media paid for by Justin Trudeau. All of which, I'm telling you, is that it's important to have this 3-minute interview. Please subscribe, ask your friends to subscribe, and press that PayPal thing so we can continue on to bring you the news you otherwise might not know.